Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. I wanted to go through and actually talk about Ethereum for today's video because of the fact it is actually holding support so well throughout this entire year and a half long of bear market. When we're looking at the price of Ethereum, when we're looking at the dominance of Ethereum and the price chart of that, what we're actually seeing is that it's been holding support exceptionally better than we've seen in any of the prior bear markets, and it's actually outperforming Bitcoin massively in the short term. I want to talk to you guys about what I think that this ultimately means going forward for the next 6 months to a year of Ethereum, and why I actually believe that it's going to be massively outperforming Bitcoin in this next cycle over the next 2 to 3 years. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Always remember to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos like the one provided for you here. And make sure you guys sign up and join the Discord server of over 21,000 members growing. On top of that, you guys can also go ahead and download my free ebook. Both of those are in the description. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. With that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. So before we jump into the Ethereum analysis today, I wanted to quickly go through Bitcoin, talking about our last video, just briefly mentioning what I talked about from the last point. Where we were in our last video was basically the very top of this lower high. We were starting to reject off of this resistance, and I talked about that I was ultimately expecting, us to go down over the weekend and us to have kind of more of a sell-off to retest some of the lower ranges of this level. So before I was talking about how our first major level is this red resistance. I didn't think that it was actually going to hold off of this. I expected that we would go lower and this would act as more of a deviation from this resistance. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. We didn't go quite as low to the range that I was talking about at about 20,300, but it doesn't really matter. We're already bouncing a little bit higher from that. And so really guys, once again, we're coming back up into contact with this red level. If we can get back above this and kind of hold support here, I think that sets us up for another high. But in that same sense, if we can't get above this level and this turns into more of a resistance, then I would expect us to fall and retest all the way back down to our range lows at about $19,000. So that's what I'm watching for Bitcoin in the short term. Now guys, let's talk about some other things that I feel are really important when we're analyzing not only Bitcoin, but specifically jumping into Ethereum for this next part. Now, in my opinion, the best way to start talking about Ethereum is to analyze the Bitcoin dominance, because ultimately this is going to be kind of the anti-correlation to whatever the Ethereum chart's doing. That can be the Ethereum dollar chart, that can be the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. They all kind of play in with each other. Now, when we're watching this chart, there's a couple different things that we need to be paying attention for. Now, first things first, we did go through a significant period of ranging. This was a long period of consolidation. If we draw our date tool, we can see that from the bottom of the range to where we're at today is about 450 days. So we're already in here an extended period of time. And with that being said, we haven't made a significant move to the upside. And so when we're watching this, there's a couple different things that can happen. And this is going to tie in deeply to our Ethereum analysis here, because it's going to give us both the bullish scenario as well as the bearish scenario, because really either or can happen now. The thing that I find that is really important with this cycle when we're analyzing, and let's just remove these indicators down here. When we're looking at this chart, we have forever been in a constant downtrend. The Bitcoin dominance has always been in a downtrend ever since altcoins were added. And why is just simply because the more altcoins that are created, the more altcoins actually pull from the total market cap and liquidity of Bitcoin. And so it's inevitable the Bitcoin would go down, assuming altcoins are going to be around. Well, eventually there will come a point where most altcoins aren't used. It'll just be Bitcoin and maybe a few others that are have mainstream adoption. And then at that point, Bitcoin might sit at a much higher market cap as far as dominance goes. But it's hard to say. As far as what we know based off this chart, it has always been in a downtrend. This was the 2017 bull run. This was the 2018 bear market. This was our 2020, 2021 bull run. And now this is pretty much our bear market in here. So really, guys, if we're comparing the 2018 altcoin bear market, which was there, to the 2018 or the 2020 altcoin bear market that's right, or I should say the 2021 altcoin bear market that's right here, it's vastly different. This is much different than what we've seen in prior cycles, and that's why I keep repeating to you guys that I'm not considering what we're seeing right now as a normal bear market inside of Bitcoin. What we're seeing inside of Bitcoin on a big picture is vastly different. Because if we're looking at what happened in 2017, this was a typical bear market, right? When Bitcoin pulls back 85%, it takes a year to do that entire correction, and everything bleeds for a multi-year process. That was the move that we saw here. Now, inside of our most recent bear market, this is literally just a consolidation inside of this market cap dominance. And this is also happening after an extended retrace to the downside. This could be actual continuation to a lower low rather than what people are expecting, where this is going to kind of pop up and go all the way up into a brand new thing. I see people drawing that. And while it is possible that we can definitely go up for another high, the indicators are showing a little bit more weakness here. So it's possible that we might have to come back down, retest the range low before making an extended move to the upside like this. That's definitely possible, especially when we're talking in the terms of, in the early portion of the cycle, Bitcoin will outperform altcoins. That's been the staple of every single cycle. Bitcoin will kind of lead the charge. Once Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, then altcoins will start to take off in their big rises. It's usually only after that point that we see altcoins take off in a big way. But with this cycle being different, it's really hard to say exactly what's going to happen so far. With the OBV down here, we didn't really make a sizable move to the upside. We didn't make it of our resistance here either. This at the end of the day was a bearish retest. And so we're going to have to watch and see what ends up playing out. But if the price ends up falling back down relatively close to these range lows and we start bouncing again, I really wouldn't be surprised if once we can kind of start making higher highs and form somewhat of an accumulation structure on the OBV, I really wouldn't be surprised to see this make one more high. That would take us probably upwards of about 52 to 55% dominance. That would be my guess. And if that happens, most likely this range low retest would take us relatively close to our projected 4-year cycle low, where from that point, Bitcoin bottoms, it breaks out of its bear market that we've been in, first consolidation that we've been in, and then from that point, this move to the upside would be us actually outperforming altcoins in the short term. When Bitcoin makes its first higher high in the new trend, there are some altcoins that will outperform Bitcoin, but as a rule of thumb, Bitcoin generally will break out first. But it's not a guaranteed. One thing that we have to look at here is actually the Ethereum dominance chart, because the Ethereum dominance chart is something that I think is telling a little bit of a different story. And that's why this could actually be pointing to the early signs that maybe we don't get this big move that a lot of people are expecting. I've seen a lot of different analysts draw this going up, breaking up, making one more high. Although they were drawing it in this move here, I still think that this is a possibility to watch out for. I just think that there's also the possibility where, what if this actually just corrects and we end up falling once again in kind of the similar fashion that we've had throughout here, right? What if that ends up playing out and we get another one of these drops and then we finally get this move into new all-time lows? If that happens, that's genuinely when we're going to see the first real alt season. What we saw in our last cycle was profitable. We did see many altcoins take off in a big way. But when I'm telling you guys about genuine alt season, when we're looking at this chart, and really guys, let's pull up the Ethereum BTC chart real quick, because I think that this is a really important chart to talk about as well. So when we're talking about the ETH BTC chart and we're talking about the ETH dominance chart, it's very much the same chart. It looks almost identical as far as what the candlesticks look like, the price action itself. But this is denominated into percentages based off of market cap. What percent of the market cap is dominated by Ethereum, right? Hope that makes sense. Now with the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, this is the value of Ethereum against Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin value of Ethereum, right? And so when we're looking at this, it looks almost the exact same as the dominance. And that's why I think that we're going to look at this to analyze, what is taking place. Because I want you guys to look at the big picture of this. When we're looking at this chart, this is an extended period of uptrending. This is a long period of uptrending that we've been in here, right? This entire period of growth throughout this, basically since the end of 2019. September of 2019, we've been going up in this period of time. Let's see exactly how long that's been. About 1,057 days. And we've never made a new all-time high in this cycle. Look at this on this chart. When we're looking at this pair, we've never actually made a new cycle. Let's see how long it's been from the previous all-time high that we made in June of 2017. That's how long it's been. Almost 1,900 days that it's been before our last all-time high. And so that's really interesting to think about. And that's why when I'm looking at this chart, this to me just looks like an extended period of accumulation. I think that the last cycle that we saw for Bitcoin was a little bit different. It wasn't a true, huge breakout like this. In fact, I'm looking at this move here as basically the same as this move here, right? This was the early part of a cycle. Even though this entire thing was all part of the same cycle, I think that this itself is basically reflecting the same emotion. This is just the first early breakout. We haven't done a whole lot. We're still within the previous highs of the last cycle. But then the move that's coming is going to be a much more euphoric one where we do actually break out of this cycle, right? That's what the type of move that we would expect to see going into our next cycle. And it's hard to say exactly when that's going to be because, we have a few more months, 3-4 more months before we get to our projected 4-year cycle low time frames. So there can still be a lot of volatility that shakes up. So we don't know exactly what the whole entire market structure will look like. But even if we end up correcting back down, we come up like this, correct back down. The next move into our new cycle would look at something along the lines of this. With us actually having this extended period of accumulation off this trend, once we actually came back down, our most recent sell-off, we got a strong bounce back to the upside. And we're pretty much right back within the previous market structure. We're going to make this green. And in turn, this would basically be the same reflection on our Bitcoin pair as well. We could come back down, retest this level a little bit. But as long as this holds above, as long as we keep breaking out, this is telling me that Ethereum is severely more undervalued than Bitcoin is. This never really made a new cycle. And when we're also comparing that to the Bitcoin dominance chart, this is still just making lower lows and lower highs. We're still below our descending resistance. It's possible we could bounce up in here and make another high. We're going to watch and see. We haven't made a convincing breakout on the OBV yet. No higher highs. So our indicators aren't telling us anything bullish. And our price action isn't necessarily either. This is an extended downtrend. This is still a downtrend. Even though we ranged for a few months, we weren't actually able to get above our resistance. So this is just a rejection. If we go to a bigger time frame, we can see that this doesn't necessarily look all that great. If it started to look good, in my opinion, it would come after a retest of this low, like I stated before we deleted that line. Now, when we're looking at this chart, guys, this going into another low, if we're actually looking at this on the monthly, we can see that this entire period of time, we have increasing volume and decreasing price, right? Basically increasing volume throughout this entire period since this started. Anytime you have the volume going up and the price going down, that's a bearish volume profile. So that generally means that the price is just going to resolve continuously in the bearish trend that it already is in. And we've already been in this bearish trend. So there's nothing really telling us that this chart is that bullish. And when we're looking at the ETH-BTC chart, pretty much the same chart as the dominance or the anti of this. If we look at this and flip it, you guys will actually see what I'm talking about here. The Bitcoin dominance chart reversed is literally the same as the Ethereum BTC chart. It's almost the exact same chart, right? So when we're looking at this chart, we're literally looking at this inverted, right? If I invert the ETH BTC chart, it looks almost the same, just a little more volatile. So when we're looking at this, guys, the BTC dominance actually trending lower like it has and looking like it's just going to keep going lower based off of our volume profile, based off of the price action. With all of that being said, as long as this trend's lower, the ETH-BTC chart is just going to keep going higher. And that's why I think that Ethereum is actually going to continue to get more adoption, and it's going to become more scarce than Bitcoin is. And we've talked about this mainly back in 2020 when ETH 2.0 was supposed to merge. We talked about this a little, and that was when the price actually was starting to go up. So you had a lot more people that were actually interested in hearing about that. It was always buy the rumor, sell the news type of stuff, right? Everybody was interested in the rumor of ETH 2.0. ETH 2.0 releases. It was actually not doing anything any better than what anybody expected, so the price comes down, right? But when we're looking at this pair, ETH 2.0, what it really will end up doing long term, it's going to make Ethereum more deflationary than Bitcoin. When Ethereum actually gets to the point of true deflation and it's actually scaling to the point that it expects to at 10,000 transactions per second, when all of that kind of encompasses into one greater cycle, that is going to be the true cycle that sets that cycle apart from all of the other ones. All of the other ones will just be mini bubbles, whereas that cycle will be the true adoption cycle. And so what we're doing right now is trying to find which cryptos are the best, the safest to accumulate before that cycle ends up playing out. And in my opinion, Ethereum has cemented itself as doing that just simply because it's one of the first. And because it's one of the first, it's got the head start, the leader's advantage, so to speak, inside of these cycles. I believe that Ethereum will be able to scale. And so for me personally, I've bet my investment capital inside of buying a large portion of Ethereum. I own Bitcoin, I own Ethereum, and Ethereum and Bitcoin are my two biggest positions because I think that those are really the safest ones that you can have. With us going into Ethereum, I think that the cycles are ultimately telling us that this is a greater accumulation structure that is taking place. If we're looking for a longer term investment, Ethereum is my bigger investment over Bitcoin because I believe that this chart and the fundamentals are lining up for it to do better long term. Bitcoin already has such a high market cap, and it's not that Bitcoin isn't going to continue to get massive adoption, because it will. It's just that I believe Ethereum is more undervalued, and it's a little bit more of a speculative investment that will yield a higher ROI long term. So when I'm looking at this, guys, I think if this is a long-term accumulation structure, this is a multi-year rounded bottom formation that is forming. And now, this is just the 200-week moving average. I just had this up because it's just happened to be up. But with us actually getting above this level, it kind of is laying above both of our resistance levels. And I think that that's a telling sign. This was our multi-year resistance that we went through. And when we actually made a new high in the bull market, this was us breaking out of that. And this is us actually retesting that level as support. And so with us being within the previous highs of the last cycle, with us never really having made a new all-time high into a cycle, I keep looking at this chart as just going to be one that's severely undervalued, that will have a massive bull run moving forward from here. And a lot of that has to do with the big picture timeframes on Bitcoin. Let's get to the log chart. In my opinion, with us missing our wave 5 on the big scale, that's kind of what our Ethereum chart is showing us. We're still missing our wave 5 and our completion of this multi-year cycle. Once we actually get that, in my opinion, that's when we get our true euphoric top inside of Ethereum. And then from there, we'll probably have another, multi-year bear market type of thing. It's hard to say what will happen. You can't predict the future. But what we can say is that we are missing our major wave 5 of this cycle. And with us doing so, it honestly lines up pretty much identically with us missing our wave 5 inside of this cycle as well on our Bitcoin pair. And not only on our Bitcoin pair, or what I should say, our Bitcoin dominance chart, but the same thing can be said on our Ethereum Bitcoin pair. We corrected, retested a multi-year resistance, now acting as support. I think that we have one of these that's coming. I could be wrong, been wrong in the past, but this is kind of my thesis, and that's where I'm betting my investment capital. So anyways, guys, this is the video I had for you. If you found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos. If you guys want to join the Discord server or download my free ebook, links are in the description for that. You guys can also sign up for my video course Signals, purchase my VIP. If you guys want to follow all the trades that I take in this next cycle, maybe you guys want to copy my video course, follow all my educational series and things of that nature. Links are going to be in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.